of time, I'm just gonna get started cranking this thing out. So I just cloned it down, and here we are on the challenge and Biggin. So this is the one with the horses, where it's like, okay, see ya. It wants you to be able to click a button and add. So there's a add a horse at the bottom. When you click that, the button should change. The horse form should show up. Then looks like next release is update the page after submitting a form. So you fill out the form with some stuff, and you hit submit. And then via AJAX, we want to go off to the server. We want to submit the horse stuff. Then we want to come back and populate the page with that data and restore the form portion of the page to its previous look and feel. Then the second release looks like is dynamically load horse details. So it's like if I click on a horse, it wants to use AJAX to go off and get those details, bring them back. If you click on the horse again, those details need to disappear, not load multiple times. And then it says refactor my code. I'm not sure if we'll get to that part. We'll see. Okay, so I've cloned this down. I'm going to git checkout -b to new branch. Should be like HT, does stuff, because that's a great name. And we'll open it up here. Boom. No, I don't care. Okay. And the files that we're going to be using today are going to be what? Probably the horse controller and application.js. To start, oh hey, wait a minute. There's a bunch of code here. Arg. So not okay. Let's go see who the culprit is. Get LG. Johnny! Johnny's the big winner. Johnny pushed a master, apparently. Okay, so we're going to get checkout. It's okay, don't make him feel bad about it. I promise I will make him feel bad about it later. So if I get LG here again, we can see we got some commits from Johnny. The last commit is from Harms right here. So we're going to roll back to that one. We'll say get reset hard, or is it -- hard? I forget the syntax. And then paste in this thing. It says, okay, now you've been reset to this. So if I get LG again, now Johnny's push to master commits are gone. And then I get push origin master -f to force it in.
Sorry.
And now Johnny's work on master is gone. I hope Johnny saved it somewhere locally. All right, so let's try this again. Now we're gonna check out another new branch called HT. We'll call this one super legit. Yay. And we'll open it up again. Kill it. Bring it back. All right, great. So here we are with an unmodified file. All right. So release 1 was, well, let's get our server spooled up first off. Create, migrate, seed, start the server itself. Yep. Sweet, here we go. Penelope's horses meet the herd. So while I'm doing this challenge, we'll have to check constantly to ensure that we don't break any functionality in a non-JavaScript environment. In the interest of time, I won't be checking functionally or all the time. I'll just be doing it that way. Okay. So, hey, come on. Okay, great. All right. So what do we got here? We've got controllers, which has horse and index. Index just redirects to horses. Horse has horse index, a horse new route, a post, so horses create, and this looks like horses show. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Awesome. No helpers. Got a model, got a horse model. We're validating some things on our horse. We got some views. We got our layout.erb, which includes things like our CSS and our JavaScript file. It's got some headers, and then it wraps the whatever the ultimate ERB, which is yielded, is going to be wrapped within this main tag, and then subsequently within this div tag with a class of container, flex, and flex column. Okay, cool. Then there's also this horses view folder, which contains an index, a new, and a show. So these are all the views that like make the site up to what it is like today. So the first thing they wanted us to do was what? When you come down here and click this add horse thing, it wanted the form to be dynamically loaded. Right now when you click it, it like takes you off to some other page to add the horse. We want that to happen in real time for the user without like having to take them somewhere else. So we need an event listener on this add horse button. So the first thing we're going to do is inspect said button, right? And here we see it, button. It's a type of submit. It has a class called button. It's dark. It's within a form. That form has a class of flex and flex column. I say maybe this button needs an ID on it. So I'm going to add some markup to this button. So let's find that button. This one. And let's add an ID to said button called new dash horse form button. Cool. I'm going to head back over to my JavaScript land, and I'm going to say var new horse form button listener. If you want to complain about the length of my function names, I will direct you to the proper department. Okay. Equals function. And then we want to listen on that ID, right? So ID new horse form button dot on click run some callback function, which will take an event as its input. We'll say event dot prevent default, and then I'll immediately console log in the new horse form button listener deal. Because this is a separate function outside my document ready, I'll need to call it up here, right? So new horse form button listener invoked, and we should be good to go. So let's head back over to our page, crack open our console. Got a definitive error here from line 1. It says no jQuery is included. Well, it says $ is not defined. It doesn't tell us no jQuery is included. But since $ is the alias, right, like we'll figure that out pretty quickly. So yeah, you don't just get jQuery by default, right? Like it's not like it's just magic sauce that like shows up in the browser, right? Like you have to put it there. The easiest way is via CDN. So let's say jQuery CDN. Let's just take the top link. I'm going to go with 2.0 minified. I click on it, and it like shows me some code that I should put into my browser. Oh, look, there's even a copy button. Boom, copied. Copied with an exclamation point, right? Because like shit's happening. Where does this go? Anybody? Yeah, we want to put it right in that layout file, and specifically, we want to absolutely put it above this application.js, right? Because like we want it in this file so that it's included on every single page, no matter where we are in the application, like assuming that this is going to be a multi-page app. And specifically we want it above the application.js. If we had it here, right, like we still, oh, fuck off, we still get the error, right? The error still happens because it's not defined, right? Here it is defined. It's defined before this code runs. here, it's not defined before that code runs. Everybody good with that? Awesome. Super awesome possum. So refresh now. No error. I clicked the button, and I got my in new horse form button listener, and nothing else happened. So we're on the right track. We wrote some code, like really quickly. We wrote like just a basic function with a basic handler around an ID that we made, just to make our lives easier. We could have like hooked up to existing elements that were on the pages with existing classes and IDs that were on the pages. Sometimes in life that will be the case, like you'll be forced to deal with the markup as it is, like consuming it from someone else. But most times, if you're writing JavaScript on the front end, you have access to the markup. You can change it as needed to like make your life easier. Yes, and by the way, make your life easier. Okay, great. Then we invoked said like initial function, and we did the thing we needed to do to stop it from like doing what it wanted to do because we're the boss. And then we like use this console log here to really like test to see that the things we've done thus far actually worked, right? Don't write 30 lines of code before you ensure that like this line of code worked. Yeah. You know, if you test the code often, either by yourself or via automated testing like Jasmine and RSpec, the amount of time between like code that you write that you expect to do something and the amount and the time that like it takes you to figure out that it's not doing the thing you expect it to do, like is drastically reduced. And the less time you have between functional state and non-functional state means the less code that you've written to produce non-functional state, which means like the less overall amount of debugging that you have to do to get back to functional state, right? Because it's like less time from like shit was legit. Okay, great. So we hooked up. We determined that this worked out, so we can get rid of that. I usually leave them in, so that, like later in life when I'm debugging, I can come back and just like turn it back on. But I just comment them out. Okay, so we need to get that form from our server. We're going to do so with an AJAX request. I write my AJAX request as follows: var request equals $.ajax parens, and then within those parens is a hash that contains all the AJAX options, right? So in this case, probably URL, and maybe like type. So in order to make this legit, we're going to need some additional variables up top here. I'm going to do a var button target, which equals jQuery this. And then I'll need to do a var. So ultimately, like I want to dynamically get the URL and the method here. I could for sure like hard code it and just put a string and like the place this needs to go is back on the controller. It needs to go. We go and look. Oh my god, too many tabs already. Fuck. Okay, great. Horse. There we go. So back on the controller side of things. Is this big enough for everybody? Great. Horses. Where's the form come from? Comes from horses new, right? Yeah, so I could totally just like hard code this to horses new, but I don't want to do that. I want to make it dynamic because I don't write bullshit code, right? This is what we're all saying to ourselves in our internal monologue. We do things dynamic so we don't have to redo them down the road, like later. All right, great. I'm so glad we're all on the same page with that. So if I come back to the browser and I reinspect this element, if I wanted to make it dynamic, I'm going to need to like get this URL, right? Which I can get from its parent, has a method and an action, which are the things that I need. So I just need to go up one level. So I'll say var, button URL equals and var button method equals, and so this one will be button target dot parent dot adder action, right? With a semicolon. This will be the same, except this one will be method. I should probably like test to see that those are things that are actually happening. You know what I mean? Like, only takes a second to you know, I'm making assumptions that like the shit I wrote here was legit. It only takes a second for me to go off and confirm that like it actually worked out the way I thought it was. So it did. Horses slash new, and there's a get. So now that I've like these are locked in, so I can just dynamically I can pass those variables down below here, right? So button URL and type corresponds to button method. Cool. Later in life, I'm going to say request.done corresponds to a callback function which takes response data and console.log said response data. I can call this input parameter or whatever I want, right? It could be fliggity whoops or flagger whoops, right? Okay, stream of consciousness to stop. Otherwise, I'll say something I'll regret. Let's see, you wrote a request.done. Go ahead and take a moment to write a request.fail, which is essentially duplicated of the done function, right? Done is what happens when AJAX gets back everything that it expected. It got back like the proper status code, it got back the proper data type that it was expecting, like shit worked out, right? Fail is like something went wrong. AJAX and you know AJAX interpreted something to have gone wrong. Not necessarily that something went wrong. A quality example of that would be like if you asked specifically, if you told AJAX, hey, I'm looking for JSON data, and then the server sent back HTML. Well, AJAX is like, no, I said JSON. Like you will send me JSON, right? Okay. And then we're console logging here again, but we want to add like one additional parameter, you know, to like let us know that like, you know, shit, not great. Mommy says I'm her special boy. Okay, yeah? Yeah, you totally can. Yeah, you can chain all this together. I just don't like the look of it. So I write it this way because it's very easy for me to see the different parts, right? Like there's clear separations of concerns. You know, this versus this is essentially what you're talking about, right? Minus the semicolons here. Exact same functionality. You're doing the exact same thing. I just think that the other way is like much more visually not bullshit. How's that? But I have opinions, you know? They're my opinions. You make your own opinions about how you want to structure your code. That also in like the company that you work at will most likely have an opinion about how you should structure the code. And you just do it that way because, well, they're paying you to. Right? Okay, moving on. So we always write the .done and the .fail before we ever even like leave here. We're just finishing out sort of the way that we want to make the request off to the server, because that's what we're doing with AJAX, right? Is we're making a request to the server. So like this, every AJAX request can be broken down into the same components, right? You're gathering input that you need. Yeah. You're making the actual request, and then you are taking some action based on what you received back from the server. When you say it like that, it seems real simple, right? Total cakewalk. Oh my god. Okay, so let's head on over to serverland. If we tried this right now, actually, before we do that, we hit the button right now, what do we get back? Yeah, the whole page, line 25, this console log here of our response data that we're currently getting back from the server is the entire page with the form on it, but also with all the layout. So the server's sending us back the whole page because that's what the server thinks it needs to do. And we just need to tell server listen, slow your roll, buddy. I'm not that kind of request. So we say if request dot xhr else end. So if it's a standard request, then we'll do the thing we did before. If it's a XHR request, meaning that it's an AJAX request, we'll do the exact same thing with this render here. We'll just pass it the additional option and say, listen, layout needs to be false. No layout on this partial, right? Because we don't need to reappend all this stuff to the page. It's already on the page. When we ask for a partial with AJAX, we already have the layout file on the page. We just want the one small bit of code, right? So only the thing that we ask for, not all the extra stuff that usually comes with it. Are we clear on that? Lots of nodding heads. Code review will tell the truth. Okay, great. So let's K this out and let's try it again. Boom, and now we get back just the stuff that we wanted, right? This add horse business with this form, just the stuff that we wanted. Okay, the release said that we need to remove this button and then put this stuff on the page. So let's head back over to JavaScript land, and let's do that. So here in the .done, we need to, where are we going to put this thing? It's probably an excellent question. If we come back to elements and we inspect this add horse button, where does it sit on the page? It's within this form, right? That form's probably going to go away. And then that form is within the div class container. This container is a bootstrap. It's a styling class, so I really don't want to use it as part of my JavaScript hookups because, right, styles change down the road, and I don't want my functionality to change when styles change. So I'm going to go ahead and add another. I'm going to add an ID to this div class here, and I'm going to call it horse container. Yeah. So let's head back over to index.erb. No. Yeah. Not sure. Where's it at? There's our form. Oh yeah, sweet. Cool. Oh no, there was it's the div that's in the layout is where it's at, right? Yeah, there's where that container is. So ID equals horse container. All right. So now I've got this horse container thing, and I'm just gonna hook up with that. Phrasing, sorry. Whatever. Let's see. So I can say jQuery ID horse container dot append, and because I'm sending back a partial, I don't have to do any formatting or anything in JavaScript land, right? It's already formatted for me via the ERB, so we can just append it to the page straight up. So we can see that work. There it is, add a horse, submit, all the stuff. Unfortunately, this button didn't go away, so we need to get rid of that. Where's the button? It's in form class, this thing. Let's add to that form. Oh, where is it? Form class flex column method. Let's add an ID to this form. ID equals well, we have already got the button. Whatever. I could. No, I don't like that at all. Right? Because that's semantically confusing them with the actual form. So I'll just traverse from this button. How's that? So we'll say here, because we locked onto this button up here with this variable from line 12 button target, right? So we'll just say down here, we'll say jQuery button target dot parent dot toggle. Plow. Boom. Good to go?
Couldn't you just do it on the button target? That's the only part of the form it shows.
Yeah, dot display none.
Could. Yeah, sure. Okay. Great. Moving on. Toggle alternates between show and hide. Hide just hides. So it's just like a little sweeter, that's all. No big deal.
But it's not going to make a difference here in terms of like turning back on again?
Because we'll just run the toggle command again, and it'll turn it back on.
But it won't be this same.
What's that?
Like we'll have to create another listener.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay. Add horse. All right, the button went away, the form showed up. That's release 1, or release 0, whatever, right? Great. Get S, get add dot, get commit, dash M, R1, form show, button hide. Sweet. Okay, B shotgun again, and let's come over here. So that all worked out. We'll disable our console logs, all of them, because we don't really, should have done that before I committed. You can scold me later. Next release is the horse form needs to be submitted, right? We need to create a new horse form, or a new horse on the page when that happens. So let's make a new method to be new horse form submit listener. Right? Invoke var new horse form submit listener equals function, which takes no input. And again, we're going to need some sort of an event listener here, right? So in this case, like now we can inspect this thing. And we can say, okay, so this one is a button submitting, class of button dark. It's inside a form with an ID of new horse form. Oh, cool. So I should be able to just like hook up to new horse form on that ID straight up, right? Dot on, click, function, event dot prevent default, invoked, and then console.log, in new horse submit listener. Okay, sweet. So all good, right? We refresh the page, we hit the button, we come down here, we do some stuff, we hit the thing. Whoa. What happened? I did not prevent the default.
The thing wasn't on the page when it started, so you have to.
Yeah, this listener did not work out for us, right? We never console logged our thing to tell us we were inside. We sure as shit didn't prevent the default action. It posted my whatever horse to the database. Yeah, there it is, horse ASDF. It's always a winner. So what's going on here is, as Lou's sort of hinting at, we're making this listener, right? When are we making it? We're making it when the page is ready, when the page is first loaded. So when the page is loaded, right, like order of operations, right? New horse form listener is run, it's executed. Immediately it comes down here, it executes the function, it comes in here, jQuery like goes off to the DOM at this exact moment in time and says, hey DOM, what do you got that's got an ID of new horse form? And the DOM responds with jack shit. So jQuery, then what's jQuery respond with? Like what is this highlighted piece of code evaluate to at this point on document ready?
Now.
Negative. Try again. Negative. Try again.
It's in, not a number? No.
It just hands back the body, the document, with nothing selected. Right? No good. So it's got a selector here, but like didn't find anything. Right? So there's nothing to attach to. Ah. So, like this code that we tried to write here, you know, it returns no DOM elements whatsoever, and then you try to attach a listener to no DOM elements whatsoever. JavaScript doesn't give a shit apparently. It's just like, yeah, sure, I'll do some work on absolutely nothing. Whatever, human. Fucking people are stupid. Compilers don't care, right? They get it. Right, and then all the rest of it just is like sort of money down the drain, so to speak. So the answer to this is something called event delegation. One of the things, and I realized I should have insisted that we do a breakout yesterday. I knew better, right? Okay. When you're studying this weekend and like trying to get better at this shit, here's a place for you to go. In my GitHub, there's a repo called jQuery intro. Probably useful. It talks about lots of different aspects, gives you a nice high-level approach to jQuery, there's pictures. It talks about the thing which we're going to talk about right now, which is event delegation. And then there's a ton of like sample code in this app that you could take a look at and run if you want. Some of it will be a little above your pay grade. That's okay, right? Like
we only get paid right now, sir, because our pay grade.
You get paid.
Knowledge.
There you go. Nice. All right, so you might check that out if you want. Okay, back to where we were. Let's see. So event delegation is the answer to this. This is a modified event listener pattern in jQuery, which just changes what it is that you're placing the binding on, right? So instead of this ID new horse form, with a delegated event pattern, the answer is that you want to bind to something which is on the page when the document is ready. Some parent element of the dynamic element that's already there. So document ready, and jQuery goes and like looks at the thing, and it says, oh, yes, there is one of those, right? And then subsequently contained within that down the road later will be your dynamic content. Is that a coherent statement?
Mm-hmm. Why does the original button not need that?
Because the original button's on the page when the page is loaded.
Yeah.
So like if we look up, and furthermore, you really want to bind to the very first element on the page which is there previously. In this case, it's this div with the horse container. So we're gonna come back here and we're gonna ID horse container, and like we could leave it right here just the way it is, and it would work. It would also super not work. Right? Because like now we're binding to something on the page. We're saying, hey, anytime anything in the horse container is clicked, run this callback function. Is that what we want? Is that a laser focused like scope of our functionality? Nay. Right? So that's no good. The trick here is to pass an additional parameter between the event and the callback. The additional parameter is evaluated at the time that the event occurs. So here's what happens in real time, right? Like you're setting this event listener on the horse container, some static parent div of your dynamic content for clicks. So every time a click occurs anywhere on the DOM that is within ID horse container, the rest of this function attempts to fire, right? This callback function down here attempts to fire. But before it does, it checks at that time. So at the time of execution, it checks to see if the event which is coming through also contains this attribute, this class, this tag, this ID, right? And it's because it checks it at the time of execution that it allows us then to see dynamic content that's created on the DOM. Does that make sense? I typically write all my listeners in this fashion. Like, unless I'm 100% sure that that it's like static content that's always going to be static, and I'm never going to have to like replace it or do anything with it, then I just like go ahead and write it this way because it only takes me a couple seconds more, and then I'm ensured that the functionality will be there for me regardless of like at what point in the DOM's lifecycle an element appears on the DOM. Make sense? Questions about event delegation?
Yeah, and Jack, what is the best element,
The immediate parent element which is on the page when the document is ready. So whatever the closest element is to your dynamic content that's already on the page, that's the one you want. Because you want to be as focused in your scope as possible. I see people sometimes, right, like you could totally come in here, yeah, and like this, hell no. Because now what are you doing? Now you're like executing some JavaScript code anytime anyone clicks on the body anywhere. Certainly not very laser focused. You know what I mean? So this would be a vast, substantial improvement over that. Cool. Awesome. Moving on. So let's go back and test it again. And let's see. This time we add the horse. We send in the stuff. Oh no. In new horse form submit listener. This is clearly not working out the way I want it to. It's not great. Yeah.
Is it really that big of a difference though? I mean, like instead of the body, you have the horse container, which takes up like 73% of the page.
Yeah, in this case, yeah, this particular, okay, so I'm not sure if y'all have like not figured this one out yet, but the code that we're writing here and the code that you're writing like out in the world are going to exist on two entirely different scales, right? So yeah, here, sure, horse container takes up 80% of the page. But you know, if you were doing a delegated event listener on Facebook, right? And please, okay, great. And instead of like hooking up with like say, okay, so these little like emoticon whatever deals hook up here, right? So there's probably like a delegated listener from this like static content or something. I'm just guessing. That's a much narrower scope than like say if you hooked up on like feed list, if that was a class, right? That contains like all the elements of your news feed. You know what I mean? There's a lot more scope there. You just always want to be as specific as possible. Huh?
Monday.
It's Monday. It's Friday.
I know what day it was. Thanks, man.
Okay, great. So this didn't work out because now, like, anytime I click there, it's firing the callback. I don't want that to happen. Let's change this from click to submit. Whoops, you die. Okay, let's try this now. Add horse. In new horse form submit listener. Nothing happened. So that's the functionality I was after. So I can disable my debugging here, and I can move.
When do you want to do it? When do you want to do submit?
I'll order that too.
Definitively situationally dependent.
You sure you don't want to just record that?
I'm recording it all.
Well, record that response and like.
Oh,
nice
like take a
airborne.
picture of me like smiling like an asshole.
Just say definitively situationally dependent.
I see what you're saying. Like I could record me saying definitively situationally dependent and like wire it up to like a Staples easy button so that you could ask a question and someone else from the crowd could like run up and like slap chap that shit, right? And they would just like play over the PA system of Dev Boot Camp. Is that what you're after?
That was the general idea.
Sounds like an excellent final project pitch. Okay. So I generally always write click as my like starting point, right? It's just sort of like part of my default pattern. for things which are clicked upon, right? Like there's tons of events. There's like mouse over, mouse out, right? Like the click. There's lots of different things that you could be doing here. The submit is specific to a form. In this case, I changed from click to submit because I noticed like errant functionality immediately. Whoop! Oh no! Oh God! Okay. So when it was on click, right? I'm in here. I'm clicking, and every time I click, the little number is going up. Every time I click, the callback function is firing. So like we went from the opposite side of the spectrum where earlier it wasn't working at all, and now it's working every time you click, right? And like because we're going to be making a server request here in a second, that is not the functionality that I was looking for. So I noticed that it wasn't the thing that I was after, and I like modified my approach accordingly.
So start with click, and then based on what, and this is another reason you should be debugging
As you go.
as we go.
That is 100%. You write some code, test some code. You write some code, test some code. Don't write 30 lines. Right? Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, change this back to submit. We could have left it as click if we'd have like changed probably the focus of our thing here. You know, like if this was new horse form button, right? That would work. Whatever. I'm moving on in the interest of time.
But that wouldn't count if you like you don't use the button but you just hit.
Yeah, that's correct. If you just hit enter, then it would not take care of it. That's correct. And moreover, right, like it'd be breaking functionality because like then the form would submit via the standard means. So in this case, submit really is the ticket. Seems like probably when you're handling an event on a form, maybe submit's the ticket. Okay, cool, great. So we're gonna hook up and we're gonna like collect some input the way we did before. We'll say var like form target equals jQuery this, and console.log form URL, which we're gonna make in 1 second. So form URL equals form target. What's form target? If we submit, this is the thing. Well, you know what? I'm making assumptions and I shouldn't do that, right? So let's just console log, hey, what's this form target straight up? Add a horse. Okay, so the horse target looks like it's the entire horse form. Sweet. So I need to get some data off that horse form. So what do I need? I need form target dot. Hold on. I'm going to do adder action first, and then adder method second, and then serialize for the data last. So this one's going to be form data. This one's going to be form method. This is going to be form URL. So let's check all 3 of those attributes. And thank you. Method and data killed. Okay, add a horse. Tom, 123. He's a doodad. Sweet. Submit. Okay. What do we get back? Here's a post, and here's this form thing. So this is line 49. That's supposed to be, oh, it's still form target. Shit on a shingle. Change it to form URL. One more time. Boom, boom, boom. You, here, there, everywhere. Slash horses post, and then what's going on with this down here? Right? This is the result of the serialized method. So basically it's taken, this is extremely handy dandy, it's taken the form, and for each key in the form, each input, it set that as a key, and then it set what I put in, as the value and formatted it in such a way that it could be passed as a query string within a URL like super easily. Yeah?
Where's it getting horse from?
Horse?
Yeah.
So if we go and take a look at the... God damn it. Seriously? There we go. Nope. If we take a look at this, it has nested attributes. So horse name, age, and breed. Cool? Awesome. Okay. So, sweet. This makes the transferring of the data from a form into a params hash like very easy for us, right? So let's write out our AJAX request. We'll follow the same pattern that we were doing before, right? Like we're done with the gathering input part. Cool? So now it's like make the request part. Var request equals $.ajax, open parens, open options hash. URL is going to correspond to form URL, comma, type, TP type is going to be form method. And this time we'll pass the additional parameter of form data, which right is the form data. This cohort, so exciting.
We like to really like think about every little thing.
The energy is overwhelming. I was thinking bongo drums, maybe something from the theme of The Lion King.
Oh shit, I got it. Nah, sabanya.
Oh, look at that. I'm so happy. Thank you. Okay, great. And data is going to be form data. And then we'll space this thing over one so that it all appears to be aligned, because like that makes me very happy as a person inside. Then down here, we'll see request.done. And like once you've written this like 20 or 30 times, you'll get to the point where you just like you write it the one time in your method or in your like app.js file, and then like you just go up and copy it and bring it down and like change the nouns where appropriate. But at this stage in like your life cycle, I would encourage you to like actually like fingers on the keyboard type the things, you know, because like developing muscle memory is important. I thought Lou was gonna like give me a wedgie or something. Request.done is a function which takes response data and it console logs said response data. And then there's that, and now request dot, right? We just mod this one out, change it to fail. We still want to see that response data, but we're just gonna add the like fucktitude thing. Right, probably not something you want in your actual projects, just FYI. Okay, so let's give this a shot right off the bat. Wait, Tom, 23, Tom's a stay-at-home dude. He's, you know, okay, home, not a Freudian slip. Okay, we did it, and we hit submit, and what do we get back? The whole page, again, but this time with a UL with a class of list that has a name of Tom, stay-at-home dude, 23. So it looks like probably the thing it was returning to us was the horse show, but also like the entire page of the horse show. So let's, we've written all of our code for this method in AJAX land. Let's head on over to the controller. And the route that we determined we were going to earlier was what? A post to horses. So horses create, right here. So at horse new with the params of horse. If the horse saves, redirect to horse's horse ID, which is the horse show. So clearly that's what happened. else the horse didn't save, go back to horses new. So like this is what ultimately happened when we posted to horses here. This is not what we want to ultimately happen because we want to take like some other path because we're making an AJAX request. So let's say if horse.save, and then here if request.xhr, else end. So else is the horse saves, but it's not an AJAX request. It redirects to this horse's page. We'll fill this out in a minute, but before we do, we also need to handle the case down here. So if request.xhr, else end, right? So in this case, right, like if the horse does not save, but it is an AJAX request, do some stuff. Else, if the horse does not save and it is not AJAX request, then send them back to the new page. So this one I'm just gonna say like status 422. I saw a lot of people trying to use status codes this week. Is that a thing that's happening? I saw people trying to use status codes in like different code that I've been reviewing this week. Do you all know what status codes are? You can return certain status codes from your server to like indicate what happened on the server. So like 200 is okay, things worked out. 500 is not okay, things definitively did not work out. And then there's like a whole range of them in between. If you ever want to know about status codes, you should totally check out HP status dogs. Oh my god, so good. So there's all these dogs that correspond to like appropriate status codes. We can blow it up so you can see it. There we go. So yeah. Found. Totally found. So I said 422. What's 422? 422. 422. Oh, that was. I really thought it was a different one. I swear. I promise.
You knew it. You just delete that from the video. What was it?
Uh,
We got to delete that from the video.
let's see. Let's maybe.
It'll be available tomorrow. Not tonight.
Okay. So there's like some great examples there of like different status codes for you, if that's the thing that you're interested in. My God, service unavailable is so cute.
We still remember the last one.
Okay, great. Yo.
This AJAX stuff, it seems to be like a real pattern. You have like if or not XHR, if or not save. And it always ends up being nested. Is there a dry way to do that or an elegant way to do that, or is it always end up just being
I mean, you could clean this up some. But like for me, it's always going to wind up being, well, in Sinatra land, it's always going to wind up being a nested conditional. Very soon, like when you get to the next level up land, you'll have a much drier way of doing it for sure. But we'll talk about that later. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
I didn't know Sinatra had a version of that.
I don't think-
ugly code when I was looking at it. It's like there's no way for me to
I don't think so. Do you know something?
No, I don't.
I don't. I think it just has to be nested out in Sinatra because everything in Sinatra is like much more verbose, right? Because you have to write it all from scratch. There are no helper methods. And I'm sure you could go and write a helper method, right? So you could like just do it the one time. That's probably very undry, or very dry rather. I'm not going to talk about later in life. We'll cover it later in life. I promise. Okay, continuing on. So we had 4 conditionals here. We covered 3 of them. The fourth one was, what do we do when our horse saves and it's an AJAX request? So what do we do when our horse saves and it's an AJAX request? What do we want to send back to the DOM? Okay, you go away. Right, I hit submit here. What do I want to have happen?
Stay on this page.
I'll stay on this page.
You want to not see the horse's name.
I need the horse's name.
You need all the horses' names in that list.
I need the list of all. There's already horses here.
Right, so you need the list with the new horse.
You just need the new horse.
I need the whole list with the new horse on the list. Okay, maybe. How about I just figure out how these horses are being displayed, and I say to myself, "Wow, programmer person, there's an event occurring here that's like repetitious in its nature. Perhaps like I could take advantage of that repetition because I'm a lazy asshole, and like have it do some stuff for me."
Add to the database.
I'm just saying, like, this is definitively situationally dependent around my internal monologue. Okay. So let's go take a look. We were looking at this horses show earlier. That well, I mean, how does this page come together? We should probably go take a look. So like index.erb, h1 meet the herd, unordered list, at horses.each do horse, and then this is apparently what is being displayed. So this is the code that accounts for like placing the horse onto the page. Yeah. I say this code, like I want to make use of this code, so I could just copy it and like go make a partial that I'm just going to make use of this code, or I could cut it, right? Because I want to do it dryly, and I'll make my partial, and then my partial will be consumed both from this index page and from like other places in my app, right? Like why have the same code in different places if I could just like put it in one spot and then reference it in multiple places? So I'll write the code to show it here. I'll say PERB. This is going to go to horses /_ horse horse name, horse show. Yeah, I like that. Because it's a partial, right, I need to always pass this layout false option because I don't want the rest of the layout again. Let's go and let's, here we go. We'll say views, horses, new file, _ horse show.erb. We'll paste this stuff in. We'll realign immediately because we just can't like deal with things that aren't indented properly, right? Like it drives us crazy. Everyone here, I understand that. I get it. I empathize. All right, cool. We made a partial. We referenced the partial. Let's go back and like just check our page, see how that partials were. Oh no. Oh no. Undefined local variable method horse.
Broken. Fucking broken.
So broken. Okay, so the error message is saying here, it's like, hey, I've got this big fancy text. Oh, it's in this partial that I just made, right? You know what I mean? Right, like same old. And it's apparently trying to access horse, but it doesn't know about horse. It doesn't know about horse because, well, because ERBs compile instance variables. And they send instance variables off to like whatever template it is that you tell them to go off to. But only instance variables. They do not compile any other type of variable to send off to that partial, right? So in this case, our partial is consuming a local variable. It's a local block parameter variable from like the place where it originally was, right? At horses was our instance variable, which came out to this page from the controller, and then dot each do horse. We got this block param horse here, right? Yeah. And this block param is locally scoped. Everybody good with that? Okay, great. So the moral of the story here is the partial is trying to consume a local variable. We didn't give it one. Our options are we can like change something here on the page and like make it into an instance variable, which could then be passed over to the partial. That seems like probably a lot of work. Or since it's already expecting a local variable, we could just send it the local variable that it's looking for. We do that with a thing called the locals hash. Or locals. I get it, it's a very confusing name. I understand. So we say locals. It's a hash. So locals is the key, and then the value is a hash. The key within this hash, the key is whatever the variable will be made available in in the partial, right? So in the partial, there's going to be a local variable called horse. Yeah?
Hey,
Am I holding you up?
you're not holding me up at all.
Okay.
I just wanted to let phase 2 know
All right.
that your food is here and it's ready and it's set up to go and it's your party. So as soon as you're ready, then I've told people to hold up until.
Well, that's right, because it's your night. Hey, I'm recording. Why don't you go like do your thing? Bring me back some meat, and I'll just like keep cranking through this stuff, and then I'll stop and I'll go home. Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Hey, have a great weekend. Yeah, I'll just talk to myself. Like one of you could stay and like conduct witty banter with me if you so desire. That would be nice. A martyr for the rest of the crowd. Before we go, let's take a look quickly at your phase guide. So, don't fork the phase guide. It changes all the time. Whatever. So this weekend, do you remember in phase 1, we taught you like 90% of the shit you needed to know in the first like week and a half? And then like in week 3, we were like, and here's a bunch of extra shit that you gotta have for the assessment that you have like 24 hours to compile. You remember that? Okay, same. The vast majority of what you need to know for the assessment, like you've been exposed to at this point. We're talking RESTful architecture. We're talking CRUD. We're talking user authentication. We're talking ERBs, partials, JavaScript, AJAX workflow, event listeners. That's like a big, huge part of it. That said, we're going to hit you on Monday with object-oriented JavaScript. You probably remember me complaining earlier in the phase about how I really prefer to teach object-oriented JavaScript at the beginning of the JavaScript part. Well, that's still the case, but like I do it the way my boss tells me, which is apparently to teach it on like Monday. And apparently like that works out for people, so that's okay. The moral of the story is, I'm sorry?
Is the boss Steve?
The boss is Steve Harms in this case, yes. He makes the decisions about curriculum. The state of whatever. Whew. God. Oh my God, that's so sweet. Same. We're gonna like hit you with some new stuff over this weekend, and on Monday it's object-oriented JavaScript. Right? You've been writing JavaScript. Now you're just gonna like write it following a specific pattern that will like enable you to do more with attributes and like adding functionality and adding like attributes to attributes is the thing I wanted to say. Whatever, I don't care. So you got some challenges coming up in that regard, and it will represent like a proportionally similar amount on your assessment as to like what you saw with like surprise SQL in phase 1. So like if you remember how much of that there was, right? In any case, it's important, I guess, is the moral here. Also, have a great weekend. I will be trying to get through code reviews tomorrow whilst I am drunkenly watching football. So, you know, my mood may go up and down depending on like the state of things over the course of football as it plays out over the day. Also, I won't be here on Monday again.
Who's gonna teach us JavaScript?
You are. Shambhavi and Max are going to be hanging out with you on Monday. They will be talking to you about JavaScript. Cool? Also, let's take a look at this really... Okay, I swear, it's like the last friggin' thing. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's that one. It's the top link. I just want to like look at this really quickly with you. So this is the schedule for mentors. Looks like Ryan's going to be here tomorrow from 10 to 1. Alfred's going to be here from 2 to 5. Kelvin's going to be here from 3 to 7. Alfred's going to be here from 5 to 7. That's on Saturday. And then Sunday, Don and Xander both here from 10 to 1. Ryan Carpenter from 2 to 5. Way from 2 to 5. And Thomas from 5 to 9. Right? So lots of mentors in the middle of the day type periods over the weekend. You should absolutely be in here and like take advantage of that. Corner them for like additional breakouts. Try not to hog them for one-on-one time unless you really, really actually need it. If there's things that you could like jointly attack with the rest of your cohort or with a group of people, if there's like 4 of you and they're all like, the fuck is partials, right? Then like the 4 of you do it together, you know what I mean? Okay, I just wanted to like make you aware of that. Seriously, go do the things. I'm gonna stay here and talk about AJAX. You should go. Okay, I love you. Bye bye. Have a great weekend. I'm gonna let you study this weekend instead of assigning you a JavaScript group project. How's that?
Well, we have the passion project, so.
Ooh, that's a spicy meatball. Okay. Wait, all of you are staying?
What is the due date for the passion projects?
We don't want you to be lonely.
Do they push?
MVP is due Monday at midnight. MVP is like, I wanted to make a sports betting app that allows me to anonymously wager on games with friends, but not actually wager on anything because that's illegal. So really, we're trading cash for imaginary cupcakes that happen to be tied to hashtag sporting events. So like, that's my passion project, right? So like, MVP is probably, Tom can log in and Tom can be like, the Steelers beat the Jets. Here's $39.95 for a delicious pastry. You know what I mean? Well, that's MVP, right? Like,
Something you could actually present to somebody else and not feel like
well, but MVP is like it's proof of concept, right? It's I did the very basic thing that I initially set out. Okay, here, MVP car. You ever seen this image before? It so sums it up perfectly. So how to build minimum viable product, right? So it's not like this. It's not you start with a wheel and then you have another wheel and you like throw a body on and all of a sudden you have a Fiat Ferrari. That's not MVP architecture, right? MVP architecture is I need something that rolls. Does it roll? Fucking sweet. Awesome. Clear minimum viable product. Okay, next level up. I need something that rolls that I can hold on to, right? I need something that rolls that like I can like self locomote it, through gears, mechanisms. I need something that rolls with internal combustion because fuck manual labor, right? And then I need something that rolls that like looks like a Fiat Ferrari or something. Yes. Maybe. Depends on, I suppose, your use case, doesn't it? Well, blah, blah.
So while you're chewing, they're already starting to eat. So if you guys are hungry and want to get some food, go now. If not, if this is more interesting,
You should totally go.
do whatever you guys want.
You should really go. All of you.
To make a phone call, I'll come back.
Yeah.
Just go. It's not like you can't watch it later. It's totally fine. You should go. It's your cohort bonding night.
When did they get a chance to watch Henry VIII, conduct a breakdown?
Okay, so back to where we were. Back at the beginning again. When we refresh now, the page is still kind of fucked. And it says ERB horses index. No. Oh, but concat something. It's not happy about something. What's it not happy about? Let's check my syntax. Locals. Oh, duh. Probably need to send it the local variable, right? So the key is whatever the local variable is going to be when it shows up in the partial file. The value is whatever the variable is in the current scope, right? So in this case, it happens to be that the current scope variable is exactly the same as the locally scoped variable that we want to send in, right? So that seems very, like, those two things play very well together. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case, though, right? Like, this could just as easily be like sham shalabim, you know what I mean? Right? And like, we're just sending it off to this partial, and when it gets there, it's going to be a local variable called horse. That's a terrible example, but I hope you understand what it was I'm trying to like convey. So locals horse horse. Now we refresh, our page loads, our horses are there the way they were before, right? So we go back to our controller now, and we needed to do this if request XHR, we needed to send back some stuff. Yeah, we could totally send back @horse.name and then like build out some template in the JavaScript that like applies the proper classes to it and like changes it so it looks like the others. But fuck, we just made this partial thing that does the exact same thing. Let's just consume that. Seems way easier. So ERB horses slash horse show, and then same options again, layout false, locals, but this time we want the local variable to be horse. And what is the current scope variable that we're sending? Motherfucking @horse. That's right. Good job. If I had bacon in my pocket, I'd give you some. Unfortunately, I ate it all earlier. Okay. So sweet. This should give us back what we want. Let's go back out to the thing here. It's console logging the response data, and I'm just going to optimistically say, like, follow through with the action here. We're going to jQuery. We're going to hook up to ID horse. What was it? Horse list? Is that what it was? I don't know. We should go take a look. Where do these horses live? Let's see. List item, UL class list, horse container. Okay, so it looks like all the horses are in the UL with class list. So, okay. Class list dot append response data. Right? So we'll take a look at it, but we're going to go ahead and throw it on the page anyway. So we'll refresh, add the horse. Here's our form. And this horse is going to be called Steve. Steve's going to be 476. And Steve is a Wallywoo. There we go. Awesome. So we did the thing. What do we get back? Let's look at that first. Horses post this thing. And then this is what we actually got back. That's our partial that we made, right? And it does have Steve's name in there. So it clearly compiled correctly with that instance variable that we sent over as a local. Yeah? And if we scroll up, check it out, there's Steve. Steve's all formatted correctly. Steve gets the underline treatment. Steve is exactly like the other horses because that's what Steve aspires to in life. He wants to be exactly like everyone else. Yeah? Awesome. Steve never won any races. So that's like the baseline functionality for this release. Unfortunately, we also need to like get rid of this thing. All this business needs to go away. So if we go and we inspect the element here again, we go back over to elements again. Form add a horse. There's this UL class. Form ID new horse form, but this H1 is not inside. Get to wait, so there's this form here, and then this H1, which is like apparently right with it, and then the form for this thing. God, oh damn it, I'm confused. Oh no. It seems like maybe I made a poor decision earlier when I appended this thing to the page because now I want to get rid of it, but like I don't have like one single element that I can just hook up to and like murder right in the face, you know? So let's change that. If we go back up and we take a look from before, we were appending to the horse container our response data. The response data from that route was what? Oh, this horse is new with the layout false, right? So tell you what, let's do is let's just head on over to horse is new. It's this big behemoth thingamajigger, and we're just going to wrap the entire page in a div, and we'll give that a div an ID of horse new horse form container right? So now when I click add a horse, and now when I inspect this puppy, now all of it, the entirety of like that business is inside a div, standalone. So now, like if I totally could be done the other way, right? Like I would just multiple actions, right? It's like go to this part and remove this part, go to this other part and remove this other part. I'm like, whoa, I don't got time to type 2 separate lines in my editor, right? Like I have shit to do. So like I could just wrap it all in this one encompassing div and then give it some attribute that I could easily access, and that'll make like this functionality way easier to get after. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now we've got this ID new horse form container. Let's put it to use. Come down here into our .done. So we're appending the horse to the thing, and we're going to jQuery ID new horse form container dot remove. Mahalo is what we're saying, right? And then we'll say, what do we have before? We had, what was the button? Does anybody remember what ID the button had? Inspect, element. The button has an ID of new horse form button. So string ID new horse form button dot, that's right, dot toggle invoked. And let's see. Okay, we're going to kill this for the moment. We're going to take a look at it in El Standardino format. Say add a horse. There's the stuff, right? This horse will be 12309 Pandora Street at 456 Broadway. Okay, well, probably not a wise name choice on my part from a formatting standpoint, but the form went away, the add horse button is back, and the horse was appended to the page up here. Yeah? If I click the add horse button again, which, P.S. and by the way, when you're fucking with DOM content, like just seeing it is not believing, right? Like, you need to click that thing. Especially in situations like this, where it's like, oh, I added a new thing to the page, I should click that new thing. Does it do what I expected it to do? You know? So add a new horse, and it does. It brings the form back. Submit. Oh fuck! Oh, look at that! Sweet. We got our first fail case, right? Because I sent in some stuff, it didn't pass, and now we've told our user, our 63-year-old mother of 4 at home, just trying to keep track of horses. Fuck the dude. Great. Yes.
So are alerts normally how we would handle errors from if the request was XHR, or would we want to like display errors through AJAX as well?
Maybe you alert and like say something like the form fields required. Maybe you do the same thing like we do in Sinatra Land, where you instead of sending back the div with this form, instead you send back a div with a bunch of like giant angry red text in it, and because it's in the fail function, you can choose which part of the page to put that in. Yeah. Cool. All right, I'm really gonna press ahead now because I'm starting to feel bad. Okay. So the last part of the assessment was I click on a horse. I want to see the horse details, right? There's like 6 different ways we could go about this that I could like think of right now. But like this will be horse detail listener invoked. Come down to the bottom, var horse detail listener equals function. jQuery select. What do we got on the page that we can hook up with? When we inspect one of these horses have big fancy text and light link. I could hit one of those, but again, per the previous point, these classes seem an awful lot like styling classes. You always want to be wary of hooking up with styling classes because styling changes, right? So I'm going to go back to my horse show partial, and I'm going to add an additional class, which will be horse name, right? Straight, direct, to the point. And now I can write my JavaScript to hook up with that class. So dot horse name, when anything with the class of dot horse name on click, right? We'll want to do some stuff. But again, who remembers the thing we were talking about a few minutes ago? What was it?
I'm sorry. Event delegation.
And I said we should really probably make that our default pattern, right? So that applies here as well. We want to write it in such a way that like shit will be legit when we add horses to the page down the road.
Start off looking at the list itself.
Yeah, that's what we had, right? Every list is the absolute immediate static parent element. So sure, list on click horse name function event event dot prevent default and then console dot log in horse detail listener. Boom. Let's hit it. Okay, Steve, time to shine. Yeah, Steve's awesome. No one cares that Steve still lives with his mom. Steve's doing great. So that worked out. We can turn this off. Now what do we need to do? We need to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a little fancy dancy with it. I'm going to go not the standard route. I'm going to fuck with this partial is what I'm going to do. Let's go to the show. Here's our horse show. This is what, so like this is the stuff which is supposed to come out, right? I don't know. Like when you click on the horse, if we go to like horses /2, what do we get? It's this business here, not the name. The name's already on the page, but this business, right? So that's all this, right? Sweet. New partial, new file, underscore horse details .erb. Paste that in. Come back to the show. PERB, render in my partial that we just made, right? Horses / underscore horse details. Layout false. Locals. Do we need locals? That we do. Where it would be what? It'd be horse and then corresponds with @horse. Right, let's go back.
Do you need that?
Yeah, because it's called directly on the instance variable each time.
Because it's already consuming the instance variables, so we really don't need the local hash, right? That's what you're saying? Sweet, super sweet, mega ultra awesome, and legit. Okay, I'm glad I can make Kim's day. So let's see, does that work out? When I re-render this page, the partial did render correctly, no change in functionality. So now, like back in my controller, or no, back in this one here, This is the partial that like puts the name on the page, right? Yeah. But instead of just that, I'm also going to I'm gonna modify this partial a bit. I'm gonna put it in a div, and that div is gonna have a class equal to horse. Horse. It's just gonna have just horse straight up. Fuck it. A horse is a horse, of course. And then so it's got the li at the top, and then right here we're gonna fuck. What is it? It's this. There we go. Boom. That definitely sounds like it's working out. Here's this UL with a class of list, but we're also going to give it a class of no show. We go off to our application.css, and we'll add a rule right here at the top called no-show, which is set display to none. So now when we like put all the horses on, fuck off, really? Add horse.name, undefined method name for nil class, horse show. So it's telling me, oh, there we go, because now in this partial, see, in this partial it's receiving only the horse. So we'll just have to modify this code here. Wait, why did I put this in here? Because I had a partial, I should have consumed the partial, right? My bad. ERB, or I'm sorry, PEERB, horses slash horse, is it details? Yeah. Layout false, locals, and in this case, right, like it goes. Yeah, see, we're going to wind up going back and changing the other one because we want to make it so that it's uniform across all the places, right? So like in this case, we send the local variable in horse, and it corresponds to the local variable here of horse, and that's cool. In the other one, in the show, right, like we're sending in, we're just compiling this instance variable. So I do actually want to make that a locals hash. Where horse corresponds to @horse, and then back in the horse details, change the @horse to a local variable horse. This way, I can consume the partial in both places in a uniform fashion, right? Like if I can't consume it in a uniform fashion, it doesn't do me any fucking good. Great. So now that's all good. Oh God. The display none like clearly did not work out. Did it? Oh, because the horse details, like already has this. It doesn't have this as a no show. We removed that, right? We totally did. So in this horse show here, I'm going to wrap this partial in a div.
Yeah, because you don't want the partial at no show, because if you go to that page,
Then it would break the existing functionality. Motherfucker, I'm going to give you some candy. You wait. So then this class will have, this div will have a class of no show, right? So that way, this is no showing here. Unfortunately, it's all, I don't know if it's fucked up because I fucked it up, or I'm pretty sure I fucked it up. I'm fairly confident that this is not the way it's supposed to be. But if we went to horses/2, right, like it just still displays the way it wants to, or the way it should. So, horse. I'm wondering if the horse class was already taken. No. Li div I think it is indeed because it affects the spacing. So when we come back to where was it? The index at horses.each2horse. So back to
Can you just add the horse class to your list titles?
yeah, I don't know because now we no longer like have the wrapper around it, which would have see that takes care of the spacing, but not having the wrapper is going to be kind of a pain. In any case,
What I'm hearing is that this is really hard, and it's okay if we didn't get to this function in the challenge today.
that's correct. Sure. So console log list of horse name. Is this still happening? Let's find out. Still totes, magotes, super califragilisticexpialidocious listening. Okay, so MVP here is just to say, hey, what would it be? It'd be like jQuery this dot, what was it here in the horse show? Dot sibling with a class of no show dot show. Nope, that didn't work out. Let's open and inspect. Because the sibling is a sibling of the parent, the list element, not the anchor tag, which is the thing which was actually clicked. So this dot parent invoked. Oh God. Oh no. Because they're all siblings of it, right? So this was definitely not the fine, laser-focused approach that I was looking for. So not siblings. So we say this dot parent. Let's drop in a debugger. Probably time for that. All right, I hit the thing. Boom, I'm in my debugger. What's this? Okay, this is the anchor link. So I want to say this dot parent. I want to go up one layer. Pair. Right. jQuery this dot parent. That gives me the list item. Yeah, see, I really wanted the wrapper around it. Yeah, in order to like do it, and the way that I was thinking about doing it here is like a little different than probably what you would ordinarily like your initial approach. Your initial approach for the rest of this challenge, you've been AJAXing a bunch of shit. So you would like go off, you'd AJAX to a route, you'd get the details, you'd append them directly under this thing, you'd call it done. I wanted to like load them onto the page initially, hide them, and then on an event like show or hide them, right? So it's just a matter of like structuring this horse show correctly.
So I got the button ready, right? When do you want to put something on the page and hide it so it's there, and then like when you do something it shows up, as opposed to rendering it? You know, and I understand that it's going to be completely situationally dependent.
The putting it on the page and hiding it and then showing it is actually a really easy pattern to follow. Super easy. Unfortunately, it's not what the fuck I'm trying to teach you, right? It works really well on small scale endeavors, but you can imagine like that would not be the way you'd want to do it for like Facebook, right? Like Facebook does not load up 400 million posts into your newsfeed and then slowly show them as you scroll down the page. No, as you scroll, it communicates with the server. It's like, give me more shit, right? So that's a case where like that makes a lot of sense, right? Like if it was like mom's 16 examples of wall art that inspired my 20s MySpace page, right? In that case, right, like there's only 16 items going on. There's really not that much happening. Yeah, we could probably just like toggle show hide, that sort of thing. I really want to get the green on this fucking thing. Oh my god. What if I like put it? What if I put it within the list element? So now jQuery this is this thing, right? jQuery this dot parent is this list item, and then I could go down from here to
You want to go siblings, children?
do I?
Because you're going up from this to the parent, and then if you go child from the parent, you're going back to the same.
I wonder if I could just go, wait, this dot sibling straight up. No.
No, because there's nothing else that belongs to that list item.
There is now. I put the div inside the list item. So now I can just do siblings straight up. There's the thing, and I can say siblings dot show, and then siblings dot hide, otherwise known as motherfucking toggle. So let's get rid of our debugger here, and yeah, this dot siblings dot toggle. And this is this route that I've taken is an excellent example of how like you can manipulate markup, you can manipulate the structure of how you're designing and placing things on the page to like make your life either substantially, catastrophically, catastrophically more difficult, or amazingly supercalifragilistically better. You know what I mean? Okay, great. Let's see if it actually works. So we refresh. We hit the button, Priscilla. We hit the button again. Hit the button again. Hit the button again. Again. It works great. I assume that the margins are a little off because I'm a little off. And no, I don't mean mentally, Dave. Okay, so that's it, right? That's get S, that's get cam, that's get update R3 complete. Like a sauce mouse. Anybody ever watch Epic Mealtime? So good. Oh my god. I haven't thought about that show in years. Like since before I had the current love that I do for bacon. That said, they're not doing anything keto friendly. Right? Because like ultimately all the bacon is candied. Ultimately, like there's 14 pounds of brown sugar in their hamburger. You know what I mean? It's definitively anti-keto. Okay, so I did the thing. The last release probably wasn't the way you were expecting to see it done, but it functions nonetheless. Any other questions? I feel super terrible. I promised you that I would do this for you, and I want you to have like a good primer going into the weekend. But it seems like there's things happening. Questions? Yes, Kim.
Is it best to try and do everything using partials for the most part when like rendering something via an AJAX route, rather than just do a string that has some HTML in it and appended? Okay, I'll just stop asking questions.
No, not at all. No. Okay, so the pretext of the answer is this, right? So as long as we like understand that this is where we're starting from, but then I'll provide some context additionally. So as it happens, most of the use cases that you see here at Dev Bootcamp, it's like fucking partial. Fucking partial sure seems like the ticket, right? But out in the world, that is 100% not going to be the case. As a matter of fact, right, like if you go and talk to Phase 3, they're starting their final projects today. Several of the groups are doing like a Rails backend with a React front end, right? In which case, they're not sending partials at all. They're sending JSON. Like the entirety of 100% of the communication that they have between their server, the database, and the front end, which is displayed to the user, is all done via JSON. So like if it's on the page and it's dynamic content, then it was delivered via JSON payload. It is 100% situationally dependent, right? Like where it makes sense for you. It's a real pain in the ass right now to send back like some data and then construct markup in JavaScript because like what are you're essentially like your option is string concatenation, and that's a big pain, right? We'll get into in phase 3. We'll start talking about JS templating, which is like using one of a myriad of libraries where you like send out data, and then you essentially do the same thing what we're doing with ERB, where you like send a couple variables to some template that you made in a place, and it produces you like the proper HTML. For right now, yeah, the partial does seem a lot easier. And when I say situationally dependent, I mean like this, right? Like if the situation is, well, I really need to append a new item to this list, and I really need the list item to be formatted exactly the same as the other ones. Like you already have code written somewhere in your code base that like handles that functionality. Why rewrite it, right? Pull it out, dry it out, make it a partial, go to the town, right? If, on the other hand, right, like we wouldn't do that for the Hacker News Challenge on the upvote example, right? So like you click the button, it goes to the server, says, hey server, this post got voted. Server's like, sweet, I counted that vote, and then the server hands back what? A number. Not an integer, but a string or a number contained within a JSON block, right? But it just hands back the number because like we don't need all the HTML and all the structure and like all the extra bells and whistles. We just don't have a use case for it. Really, the only thing that we need to know for that particular AJAX function is what is the new value of the vote total. Sweet, I know the new value. Go find that old value, beat him up, replace it with the new value. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it help?
Yeah.
Okay. You're welcome. Anything else? Yes, Lou.
Can you put an AJAX in another AJAX, or are you not supposed to do that?
Can you nest AJAX requests?
You totally can.
Are you not supposed to, though? I thought you told someone on the hashing functions last phase. You saw them doing that and you told me not to? Should we not do that?
Well, the reason, really, I was just chewing to wait. I wasn't. The timing just worked out.
Chewing it over.
Yeah, I was just chewing it over. Right. The reason that I was getting onto that person was the way the functionality they were after there was they were putting the second AJAX request in a .done function. Right? So they made the first AJAX request, and then in their .done function, they made a second AJAX request. That way the second AJAX request would not fire until the first AJAX request came back with like the legitimate data, which was, I think, consumed in the second AJAX request. I believe that's what was happening. Okay, that is a bullshit pattern because there is a much better pattern, which is non-bullshit in JavaScript, which you will learn about in phase 3, called promises. So promises, I mean, we can talk about it now, but it's gonna fucking melt your brain, dude. Promises are like your first line of defense in combating the asynchronous nature of JavaScript. You set a promise up on an object and you structure some callbacks around it with a that to resolve or reject. So like when something like you set a promise on like an AJAX request and you say, okay, if this AJAX request resolves to legitness, then do some other thing like at this point in time. Else, it didn't work out, do some other action, right? They were essentially circumnavigating the the syntactical pattern of promises, and instead like doing it within the .done function, which is itself a promise, like under the hood. The nuts and bolts of it's a promise, right? In order to like maintain the same functionality, in order to like break the asynchronous nature of JavaScript and ensure that like the second function did not fire until the first one was complete. Make sense? But there's a really good, if we go to talks.devbootcamp.com, come on, fucking J.K. Marsh, Prison Josh, as he is lovingly known. He never went to prison. Prison Josh recorded this talk about taming asynchronous JavaScript. If you want to learn more about promises and get into that as a workflow right off the bat, highly recommended. Also, you might get hooked on J.K. Marsh. You just like sort by author for Marshitude, especially if you're into CSS. His 2 talks on CSS here are really good. He's a senior front end guy at Google, so whatever. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I like kind of answered it, kind of didn't, kind of told you whatever, and kind of gave you some resources, which seems kind of par for the course. Okay. A what? This means definitive. What does it mean?
Situationally dependent. But there were a couple
definitively situationally dependent. Yeah, I should make T-shirts. Okay, what else? Mahalo, mofos. Enjoy your weekend. Okay, bye-bye.
Have a good one, Hunter.
I'm closing this down right now.